Hi, Tom Whitman here, HVAC Business Academy. We're here today to discuss strategies for delay responses. This is the part of the process where we uncover the reason the customer is not buying and we satisfy that problem by giving solutions. First step is prepare your customer to buy. By doing so, you just ask a few simple questions. Mrs. Smith, does the equipment you selected and everything you want to do with this project make sense? Can you see how this is going to satisfy everything on your list of goals? Okay, great. Well, the investment for this part of the project and this type of equipment is $7,975. The next step is to decide what day you want to have the system installed. We have an opening Thursday or Friday. So, step number one is prepare the customer to buy by making sure everything makes sense and they see clearly how what they've selected is going to satisfy and take care of everything that they want on their list of goals, and then assume the sale. Because if they see it and they understand it and it makes sense, assume that they're going to want it installed. So go for an installation date. If at that point you get a delayed response, step number three is to explain how they can pay for it. Because it may not be an objection. They may be delaying the response by saying, I want to think about it because they don't know how to pay for it. So the next step would go something like this. Well, Tom, I just need time to think it over. Well, I understand. May I explain our payment options? You can pay by credit card, or you can pay by check, or you can pay part by check, part by credit card to keep the payments low, or we could finance it for you. In fact, a project like this would cost somewhere between $145, $130, gosh, maybe as low as $90 a month. What works best for you? So, let's review. Step number one, condition the customer to buy by making sure it makes sense and they clearly see how it's going to satisfy everything they want. Step number two, assume the sale. Offer a couple of installation dates. If they schedule it, fantastic. If not, step number three, assume that they need to know how they can pay for it and explain the payment options. If at this time they still delay, there's likely another reason, and it's usually one of four. It's either I want to do it, but I don't have the money. I'm going to do it later when I get the money. I'm just not sure if I want to put this much money into my system, if it's worth it. I'm going to get other bids because I want to make sure I'm not overpaying for the work. Those could be four very plausible and quite frequent problems you'll bump into. Our job right now is to uncover which of those reasons the customer isn't buying and satisfy the problem, solve the problem. It would go something like this. The next step after you explain the payment options, if you get another delay response, is to reset the appointment. Now we're going to reset the appointment to come back just to put the customer at ease, and then we're going to dig a little deeper. It would go something like this. Which payment option would work best for you, Mrs. Smith? She goes, well, I just need to think it over. Okay, well, you know what? I visit with my customers 2, sometimes 3 times, just to review the system selection and the work scope, just to make sure they're comfortable with the equipment, the scope of work, and the price. May I ask how soon you'll be making a decision? And she'll answer. She'll say, well, probably in a week. So, okay, well, listen, I have an opening actually next Friday about the same time. How about I pop by and we can review everything until you're comfortable with your system, the scope of work, and the price, and then we can think about scheduling the work. Would that be okay? Sure. Now, once that is rescheduled, you have to be confident and assume it's a normal process and get this down. But once that's rescheduled, the next step is this. Mrs. Smith, can I ask you a question? Oh, of course, they'll say yes. My customers, whenever they need to think about it, it's usually because one of 2 reasons. Either they want to do it or they simply can't, they don't have the funds right now, or they're not sure if investing this much money into their system's a good idea. Which one are you? At this point, you want to be quiet and listen. They're going to tell you one of 4 things. At this point, they're either going to tell you, I really don't have the money, or I'm going to do it in 6 months, or later when I get the money, or, yeah, I just don't know if I want to spend this much, or I'm going to make sure I don't overpay by getting other bids. And then you handle it. Handle each one of them. It goes like this. Well, Tom, I just don't have the money. Okay. Well, let me ask you, if you did have the money, would there be any other reason you wouldn't move forward? Oh, no, probably not. Well, gosh, we could finance it for you, and your monthly payments would probably be somewhere between like I said, 120, maybe as low as $90 a month. Would that work? Offer specific options for a solution. Chances are they'll go for it. Now let's say they're going to do it later. Then you would go something like this. Well, Tom, you know what? I think I'm just going to do it in about 4 months. Well, Mrs. Smith, if you don't mind me asking, what's going to be different then? Well, I have a CD coming up, or I'm coming into some money, or I'm getting a bonus. Oh, okay. Well, let me ask you, if you had the money now, would there be any other reason you wouldn't schedule the work? Well, no, probably not. Okay, well, we have a program where we can put your system in today. You don't make any payments, no penalties, nothing for 6 full months. You can enjoy your system, enjoy the savings and the comfort, and pay it off when you get your bonus in 4 months, and everybody's happy. That'll work, right? Offer specific solutions to those problems. You'll be amazed at the results. The next step is, what if the customer says they're not sure if they want to put this much money into it? That's when we'll get into the return on investment. We're going to talk about that in a little bit separately so you'll understand the exercise. But let me talk you through this real quick, okay? Well, Tom, I'm not sure I want to put that much money into my system right now. That seems like quite a bit. Okay. Well, Mrs. Smith, what I'm hearing you say is that you're just not sure if your heating and air conditioning system is a good place to put that much money right now. Is that what I'm hearing? Well, yeah. Well, if you are confident that investing a little bit more in your system would be a great return on your investment, would there be any other reason not to move forward with the work? Oh, no, probably not. Now, at this point, it's a real simple mathematical calculation to determine what's going on. Well, Mrs. Smith, you have to do something. And just to get heating or air conditioning in your home, you're going to be spending at least $3,000, right? Well, yeah. Now, everything else we talked about to take care of that back bedroom that's cold in the winter and reduce the allergy triggers is going to cost an additional $3,000, right? For a total of a little over $6,000. Yeah. Okay. Well, if we take away the money you're going to have to spend for something, we're talking about an investment of $3,000. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Well, when you take into consideration the higher efficient system compared to the basic one, that alone is going to save you a little over $275 a year more over the basic system. So I'm going to put that down right here. Over 10 years, that's $2,750. So let's write that down, $2,750. Does that make sense? Yeah, it makes great sense. Also, for 10 years on this particular system, you're assured that you're not going to have any unexpected repairs at all. Now, over a 10-year period, without any warranties or guarantees, would it be safe to say that you might bump into $300, $400, maybe $500 worth of repairs over a 10-year period? Yeah, probably so. Okay, so let's write down $500. So over 10 years, that's $3,250. So that additional investment of $3,000 every year, $3,000, is going to have a return on investment of almost 11% tax-free. Now, Mrs. Smith, if I were to show you a place where you could invest your money over the next 10 years and get an 11.5% tax-free return on your investment, guaranteed, what would you say? How about we go ahead and take care of this for you? A little bit of math, a little bit of common sense goes a long way in helping people make a logical decision. Now, the other thing they may say, well, Tom, I need to think about it because I've got 2 or 3 other people coming over to give me a price. Hey, look forward to it. That's great. Then you'd say something like this. Well, I understand. My wife and I do the same thing, especially when we're thinking about making a major investment like this. We want to make sure that we're not overpaying. And what I'm hearing you say is you just want to make sure you're not overpaying for the work. Is that right? Yeah. Well, let me ask you, if you were confident that you weren't overpaying for the work that we're proposing to do for you, would there be any reason not to move forward with the work? No, not at all. I said, okay, I appreciate that. Listen, how about we keep our appointment for next Friday? I'll pop by around 5 o'clock, and then you and I can review the final equipment selection, scope of work, and the price, plus review any other concerns you might have until you're comfortable with everything. And I can demonstrate if we are definitely delivering the highest value for the dollar. Let's go ahead and schedule that work then. Will that work? Great. I'll see you next Friday. A few of these strategies go a long way. This is what I'm going to recommend that you do. Master each section of this, because you have to get very comfortable and confident saying the words. When a customer says, I'm getting other bids, you need to be able to say, okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that you want to make sure you're not overpaying for the work. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Well, if you were certain that you weren't overpaying for the work we're going to do for you, would there be any other reason not to schedule the work? You need to get this down so that you can do this and you can satisfy that problem they're having that's in the way of them buying. Furthermore, there are a few things that you can do to help uncover the reasons they're not buying. They may not be just as simple as asking these questions. So here's a few questions that might help. One thing you might say is, well, under what circumstances would you schedule the work? Another thing you might say is a scale of 1 to 10. Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being let's schedule the work right now, and 1 being I'm not interested at all. Where are you in terms of making a decision? Let's say they say an 8 or a 7 or a 9. Then you say, well, what would you need to see or hear to make that a 10? Okay. That next thing you may want to do, or you could say, is suppose I said, well, Mrs. Smith, suppose I said that we could reevaluate the system selection, the scope of work, and work with it until you were comfortable with the price. What would you say? That's a safe place to be for a customer because it's a hypothetical commitment, and then you just go back and resize the job. Or the next thing you could do is a feel, felt, found. I understand how you feel. A lot of my customers have felt the same way. But Mrs. Smith, what they found is once they decided to go ahead and do the work, they couldn't believe how long they've been living with an uncomfortable, unhealthy environment. They were amazed at the results. And it was a good decision for them because they're getting a great return on the investment. How about we just go ahead and take care of this for you? Just a few tips, folks. Practice, drill, rehearse. I certainly hope that this episode is helpful for you. Let's go back, find the gaps, tighten them up, work it out, and you will be in a position to go make it happen.